And hello there. Well, we're in a secret location, which I can't actually show you too much about. I can tell you though, we are inside the Shallows at the House of Frankenstein in Bath. The Shallows is a new horror-themed escape room that has been set down in the basement. For those who've seen our reviews of House of Frankenstein before, there is a scare attraction element down in the basement. They've converted part of it into a new escape room. They've already got Victor's Lair upstairs. This is called the Shallows Basement Escape. It's due to open in a couple of weeks' time. So we've had a sneak preview. We've not seen any of the clues or puzzles. We've just been looking around. I say I can't turn the camera around too much. With us we have Chris, one of the main creative directors here at House of Frankenstein. We're going to ask him a few questions about the Shallows, the House of Frankenstein itself, and what they've got planned for their Halloween event, which opens very soon, called House of Frankenstein After Dark. Chris, so we're stood inside the new game. I'm not going to turn the camera around and show too much, but yeah, what made you decide to add another escape room to the House of Frankenstein?
Well, I think largely because of the popularity of Victor's Lair. When we opened the house 2 years ago, we very quickly followed by opening Victor's Lair escape room, and really the success of that. And it's a very popular part of the house, and it just made sense to add something new.
So what makes the Shallows escape game different to Victor's Lair upstairs?
It's smaller. I think it's psychologically more testing. Victor's Lair is great, but it's a little larger, so we can accommodate up to 7 people up there. But this is smaller, slightly more claustrophobic, slightly more challenging physically, and game-wise, Victor's Lair is very much more sort of tech-heavy. Down here, this is quite hands-on, quite practical, and having to think in a slightly different way.
So this was part of the original scare attraction element of House of Frankenstein down in the basement. So has it been difficult to retrofit this area to put an escape game in?
Actually, no, and it still is part of the everyday experience. What's lovely about this sort of area here? It comes with built-in cupboards, and so what we've done is we've moved into those cupboards as well. So ordinarily on a normal day when people come in to visit the house and they're walking around the attraction in the basement, they won't know necessarily there's an escape room here because a lot of it's locked in different areas. And then really with just a 10-minute turnaround, we can just make a few tweaks and turn it into an escape room. Cool.
So obviously House of Frankenstein is based on obviously the story of Mary Shelley and the original novel and stuff like that. But how do you mix the scare element down here in the basement with the storytelling upstairs?
I think that's one of the things here is actually getting a nice balance of a variety of stories. We've got obviously the Mary Shelley story, which is the main part of this house, and that's an interesting tale in its own right. She's a fascinating character, fascinating life, and her writing Frankenstein and the Frankenstein novel is a very different prospect to the Frankenstein most of us think we know, which is obviously the sort of the Hollywood version of it, the Boris Karloff, the flat head, the green skin, and so that's another side of Frankenstein. So in terms of the storytelling of the actual attraction itself, there's the merry side of things, which is it's quite a tender but quite a dramatic story. There's the Frankenstein in popular culture, there's obviously the escape rooms, and then downstairs here in the basement, right from the off, we weren't trying to recreate a Frankenstein horror walkthrough. It's almost like a derivative, because part of the Frankenstein story, there's thousands of derivatives from Blade Runner, Edward Scissorhands, AI, or whatever you want to think of. And so we actually sort of said, well, let's bring this into slightly more the modern age, the basement. It's still quite old-fashioned, but imagine someone today is working, creating horrible things, creating creatures down here. So anyone who's been to the basement will know this isn't directly a Frankenstein story, it's a Frankenstein derivative.
Cool. So what do the public generally think of the basement? Because obviously a lot of people come in expecting historical fact and whatever upstairs, and then what do they feel like when they come down here?
They do. I think that's the lovely thing about this attraction. Generally, I think what happens is it's presenting quite a few different emotions. There's the main attraction is multi-sensory. It's atmospheric. It's not a scare attraction, but people come in here with a sense of trepidation because it's a Frankenstein story. But actually, they're getting sort of the Mary Shelley story told to them, and it's very much more. It's atmospheric, and you've got soundscapes, music, smells. Down here, it's a scare attraction. It's pure scares, and I think not everyone comes down here. Maybe 15-20% of people don't actually make it down the stairs. But what's lovely about it, and I think this is in a way maybe wasn't particularly planning. It's just the way it turned out because we're in a 300-year-old house. We had to sort of use the house. We couldn't modify the house, so the attraction was built around the house. And what's lovely is that there are various levels and textures here. So people come in and they're quite sort of trepidatious about the actual attraction itself, and they're quite respectful about the early stages. And then they start lightening up a little bit when they sort of see the popular culture rooms. They're slightly in awe when they see the creature we've reproduced of Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley, of the creature. And then they go into the screening room where they see the first ever Frankenstein film, which is wonderful but also terrible at the same time. And they usually end up laughing in there. And then they come down here and they end up screaming. So what's fantastic is there's textures. And I think people actually experience a range of emotions here.
Absolutely. And of course, you've got your After Dark event coming up very soon for Halloween. So you've got the Shallows. When's the Shallows escape room opening first?
The Shallows opens, I believe, on the 15th of September.
Excellent. And then you've got After Dark not long after that. What can we expect in After Dark this year? We screamed a lot last year.
We're very excited about After Dark. This will be our third time we've done it. And obviously we have to change it for each time. And we have a supernatural feel here for this new one. But we are making some changes because previously people came around the house and it was pretty much as the house would be in the daytime. But here we're just making gentle modifications where there are more transitions, and you don't just walk through the house, you're stopped in various ways, and more actors, and I think we'll try to replicate the psychologically draining experience that it was last year for everybody.
Cool. Yes, I definitely remember we screamed a lot, certainly on the stairs. There was very scary actors in there. So really, I suppose one last thing I just want to say is, what would you say to like scare fans? A lot of people, I know in the community, a lot of people, it's House of Frankenstein, it's just historical. What would you say to people to get them to come down and experience?
It is, but it's not. I think the thing is, it's not a crusty old museum. I think what the House of Frankenstein is, and we hear this time and time again, it surprises people because a lot of people have a preconception of what it is. They think it's going to be a rather sort of tacky, end of the pier sort of show. And it really isn't. It's a very cool house. Everything we've gone for is hyper-realism. So all the body parts, all the props, they're beautifully made. They're not like sort of cheap Halloween animatronics. They're quite real. And the whole storytelling is meant to be quite visceral. So the whole experience of the House of Frankenstein tells a lot of engaging stories in quite an immersive way. And then of course the escape rooms that present something else, and then the basement is just purely for thrill seekers. So I actually think the main thing as we hear is that people are really surprised when they come here because it's not what they expect.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving us a preview, and we will see you. Well, we'll see you when the Shallows opens, and we will definitely see you at Halloween.
My pleasure. Look forward to it.
Thank you.